Hi, I'm Jesal Doshi, the CEO of B Medical Systems. So, when you talk about COVID 19, fundamentally, the solution to ending the pandemic was vaccines. But vaccines are highly temperature sensitive products. And to take a highly temperature sensitive product and try and administer it to each and every person on this planet is a Herculean task. And when you look at countries with extremely varied geographies, climates, and so on, it makes it even more challenging. With COVID 19, the one other big change that came was the variety in terms of the temperatures. Because historically, vaccines was always known as a product that you had to maintain at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. In one or two cases, it was at minus 20 degrees Celsius. But COVID 19 fundamentally changed that. The Pfizer vaccine, for example, required storage at minus 80 degrees Celsius. The Moderna or a Sputnik vaccine required storage at minus 25 degrees Celsius. And this meant that almost each and every country, which even had health systems in place to actually store and transport vaccines, was simply inadequately poised to take on this challenge. So I think when you look at the pandemic, the challenge, of course, was how do you scale up? In the case of countries like India, from just child vaccination to adult vaccination. In many countries in the West, to scale up from zero vaccination to vaccinating your entire population. And B, the challenge in terms of managing a wide variety of vaccines with highly different temperature storage requirements. So this meant that each and every country had to invest significantly in cold chain, because without the cold chain, it was just impossible to get vaccines to the populations. And of course, the other big challenge was we had to do this in the shortest amount of time possible, right? So getting or developing a vaccine itself was done fundamentally in an extremely short period of time, but administering it to 60, 70% of the world's population, to think that we did it in a year or 18 months, people would say you are crazy. But the world collectively has managed to achieve that. And that was made possible only due to strong cold chain systems and investments in cold chain. When you talk a little bit about the impact and what's coming forward, I think COVID-19 really brought about the rise of the DNA or RNA-based treatments and solutions. And that we will see a fundamental change going forward. We will also see a lot more cell and gene therapies coming into play. And all of these solutions are solutions which require extremely intensive cold chains. So DNA as a fundamental particle cannot be stored at anything above minus 80 degrees Celsius. It's highly fragile, which means that although we made some investments for COVID vaccination, it's more or less at a centralized level. But now we will see it being decentralized down, for example, down to every GP or every pediatrician. And this will require significant investments in the cold chain all around the world. So the cold chain market is growing significantly. COVID, of course, brought about a one-time explosion, which meant a lot of new companies also got into this. And that today is one of the big challenges in the industry. But fundamentally, the market is growing, driven by very secular trends around the development of RNA, DNA-based treatments, cell and gene therapies, and in general, the importance of sample storage. When you talk about challenges, I think with COVID-19, everybody wanted a cold chain solution as soon as possible. And that meant, for example, a company making fish boxes suddenly started making boxes for vaccines. So we've seen a huge number of, I would say, lower quality, spurious quality players into this market, which over time will, of course, straighten out, and you will see a lot of them shutting shop or not being interested in the vaccine cold chain anymore. So B Medical Systems is the world's oldest and largest medical cold chain company. We started off in the late 70s in Luxembourg. And at that time, for several years, we were the only suppliers to UNICEF and WHO for ensuring vaccine cold chain all around the world. Since then, we've of course progressed rapidly. In November 2020, we were invited by no less than the Prime Minister Modi himself to set up manufacturing in India under Atmanirbhar Bharat. And it gives me great pride that we have set up our greenfield manufacturing facility in less than a year's time, and we have actively supported the government of India in its fight against the pandemic. So far we have invested in excess of 100 crores in setting up our factory under Make in India. And we believe Make in India is one of the most fundamental strengths of our organization. So we will continue to invest in the country. Next up on our agenda is setting up an extensive R&D center where we will be employing several, I would say 30 to 40 R&D engineers and really bring state-of-the-art technology to India as part of our One R&D program. So they will be working with our team in Luxembourg very closely on getting innovations for the world, not just for India. And that I think is exactly in line with our Atmanirbhar Bharat policy. So we want to make in India, not just for India, but for the world.